Hello there, thanks for joining us. My name's Maurice from the Church of God in Swindon with a short message for us all this morning. So tomorrow is Maya, my daughter's birthday. She's 14 and she's asked for a bass guitar. I would show you, but it's currently wrapped up and hiding in the wardrobe there, so I can't do that. That's why I'm hiding up here in the bedroom. But it's very cool, as all electric guitars are, the shape and everything is shiny. Of course, she can't play it, not a note, no. I'll just teach myself, she said. Very optimistic. Youth of today, eh? Well, maybe she'll watch YouTube and pick up a few things. We might have to get her some lessons. Or maybe I can talk some of our band members into teaching her. Eh? Andy? Chris? James? Hint, hint? Maybe not. But it's not the only musical instrument in the house. Here's my old violin. It's a little dusty and I'm a little rusty. But let me play you a little, one of my favourites. Nice, eh? What, you didn't fall for it? I mean, I've been known to whip up a pretty sweet green sleeves in my time, but I'm not going to be able to play Bach's Sonata Number 3 or whatever that was. In my hands, the music from this piece of wood and string and horsehair ain't so sweet. But it's okay because I actually do play the guitar a little, and I've got a nice one here. Lovely one. Still pretty dusty, eh? But now we're blessed in our church by some wonderful guitar players. I mentioned them before now. Good praise leaders. Hopefully one day you'll be able to come and visit us and have a good sing with them. But I wonder if they can do this. See if you recognise this little number. Look, I can even do it no hands. Yeah, that wasn't me there. What gave it away? That was, however, one of my favourite songs from one of my heroes, Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits. Now, me, I can pluck and strum this, but I can't make it sing or rock or gently weep, as Mr. McCartney might say. Even though I have the instruments, that's not enough, is it? I have the violin. Nothing special, but in the hands of Yehudi Menuhin, it's a wonderful, wonderful instrument. And that guitar, it's pink for Pete's sake. But consider it in the hands of Mark Knopfler. Imagine what he could make it do. In my hands, it's nothing special, but in the hands of a master. Now, I want us to read in Acts 9, where's my Bible, here it is, about a man named Saul. I'm going to read it to you now. Acts chapter 9. It says, that's Acts chapter 10. Here. Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" "Who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. "I'm Jesus, whom you are persecuting," the voice replied. "Now get up, go into the city, and you'll be told what you must do." The men travelling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound, but didn't see anyone. Saul got up from the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand into Damascus, and for 3 days he was blind and did not eat or drink anything. In Damascus there was a disciple named Ananias. The Lord called to him in a vision. "Ananias." "Yes, Lord," he answered. The Lord told him, "Go to the house of Judas on Straight Street and ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul, for he is praying. In a vision he's seen a man named Ananias come and place his hand on him to restore his sight." "Lord," Ananias answered, "I have heard many reports about this man and all the harm he has done to your saints in Jerusalem. And he has come here with authority from the chief priests to arrest all who call on your name." But the Lord said to Ananias, "Go. This man is my chosen instrument to carry my name before the Gentiles and their kings and before the people of Israel." My chosen instrument. That's the bit that I want to pull out today. That Saul was described by God as his chosen instrument, a man who had such a regretful past. We read a little bit about it there. He'd done the exact opposite of what God would have wanted. He'd persecuted those who were Christians, literally put some of them to death. He'd gone out of his way to tear down the church, and yet he was the one chosen by God to be his instrument. And what does that mean? It means he was chosen to be a way to communicate God's love to the world, for the world, a way to pass on the good news, a way to amplify what God wanted to say, to shout loudly, a way to grab the attention and point those who heard him in God's direction. And he did. He became Paul, the Apostle Paul. You may have heard of him, an amazing witness to God's love, a man who travelled all over the world preaching the good news. He instructed churches on how to serve. He even wrote half the books in the New Testament. It's amazing what a master can do with any old instrument. Well, guess what? We are the Lord's chosen instruments too. Just like Saul was used, we can be used too, to do those same things, to communicate God's love to the world, to pass on the good news, to amplify what God wants to say, to shout loudly, to grab the attention of the world and point their attention in his direction. We can be God's instruments. But remember, an instrument on its own doesn't produce anything. This violin can sit in its case looking pretty for years, as it has done, not make the slightest peep. The pink guitar can sit up in the attic, out of tune, dusty. It won't produce anything until it's been used. Only then can it create. And on my own, I'm nothing. In his hands, though, I can be something powerful. I can be that instrument. And so can you. You can make a sweet sound. You can be heard. You can help to change lives. Not through yourself. This violin isn't changing anyone's life. But in his hand, in his hands, you can communicate God's love for the world. You can pass on the good news. You can amplify what God wants to say. You can shout loudly. You can grab the attention of the world to point their attention in his direction. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, I'm no Stradivarius. I'm more a bagpipe kind of guy. I'm no clarinet. I'm a triangle. You're thinking you can't hold a tune and it'd be impossible to make a sweet sound for God, to make beautiful music. But remember Saul, an unlikely instrument if ever there was one. That's why Ananias questioned God. He said, this guy? But in his hands, in God's hands, Saul became Paul and became the powerful instrument that couldn't be ignored. In his hands, so can you. Because in the hands of someone who knows how to play, even the simplest, most basic of things can be a powerful instrument. And we have a master musician who wants to use us. So don't feel you can't ever be used. Your voice, your words, your actions, your life can all be used by the Lord to spread his message of love. And my message today, or our message today, is to put yourself in his hands and let him use you. Thanks for listening.